My name is Bob Ornelas and I serve on the Arcata City Council, and I'd like to join together with my friends and give you an introduction to the city of Arcata.
I'm Jason Kirkpatrick, and I've been serving on the City Council since 1994.
My name's Jennifer Hanan, and I've been on the City Council since 1996, and we want to give you our tour of Arcata.
We have several creeks that run from the east side foothills out to our farmlands in the west, through town, through neighborhoods, and under roads. We've just started the long and expensive process of exposing these streams back to the open, the terrestrial atmosphere. It's really helped out in our fisheries restoration, and we're seeing a lot of wildlife coming back into town. It's getting really exciting to watch this process take place. Cool.
About last year, in 1996, after the elections, the city of Arcata started a new transportation committee. And when we interviewed the candidates, the first line out of all their mouths was, "I want to do this because I'm a bicycle and a pedestrian enthusiast." So as you can see, we have new bike lanes in town. One of the things we're really excited about, as well as a new free bike program.
The Campus Center for Appropriate Technology is inspiring to the city because they're a model of how certain houses or cities can function off the grid. And one of the things that we're looking towards with this energy task force that the city has just recently created is ways to conserve energy from the beginning, and then long term to look towards ways we can either provide our own electricity locally or create a way to buy green energy from outside the area.
I have a poem. I come from Arcata, where we flush with pride. We mix our sewage with our wildlife. We put the poopy in the pond, and the algae it thrives. It turns our neighbors green with envy, and that is why I come from Arcata, where we flush with pride. Behind Jed and I is the Arcata Marsh and Wildlife Sanctuary.
This is one of the innovative programs that was developed back in the 1970s, and it proves that Arcata's been green for a very long time.
Long ago, when faced with the technological problems of treating sewage in our community, we had a lot of people that said, why don't we use ecological and biological processes to help us to reduce the problems that we're facing?
So behind us is one of the holding ponds, which is part of the treatment process after it's primarily treated. And then this pond will eventually run out into the bay as clean water.
So you see, at least for 20-25 years, we've had a green community.
One of the issues that we're working on with possibly the biggest long-term effects is looking at what we do with our money. Arcata has about $6.2 million that we currently give the state of California every year to invest for us. Unfortunately, this money is invested in corporations that are involved with destruction of the rainforest, nuclear weapons, nuclear energy, tobacco money, and the like. And after recently discovering this in the last year and finding that it conflicted with the fact that we've declared ourselves a nuclear weapons free zone and have taken stands on the rainforest and getting away from nuclear energy, we've decided that it's time to pull our money out of this state fund. Unfortunately, believe it or not, there is no other place available within the state of California or the United States of America where a city can take its money and have a totally clean investment. So we're involved right now with working on a coalition to possibly create a new fund or get the state to create a clean fund. Last night at our city council meeting, we voted to send a letter to the state Senate's budget committee and the state assembly's budget committee, which will request them to create a clean fund. Also, we are working with a new coalition. I've personally spoken with city council members from every other major progressive city in California, and all together our budgets total over $1 billion. And we're going to be doing our best to try and find a way to create a new fund. So here's a clip from a recent city council meeting where we discussed the issue further. Who we consult with, all it says is that the city council shall make it a goal to no longer knowingly invest in or purchase from corporations who are involved in nuclear energy, nuclear weapons, the tobacco industry, or corporations that have been found to have poor policies in relation to protecting the environment, promoting democracy, or maintaining the rights of workers. The final paragraph says, therefore let it be further proclaimed that the Arcata City Council shall hereby declare the goal of investing and expending its public monies in a manner which is socially and environmentally responsible, as well as fiscally responsible to its citizens and to the community of Arcata.
Hello, I'm Melanie Williams, and I've lived in Arcata since about 1974 when I first came here as an undergraduate. This is a place I call home and a bioregion that is a place that you'd have to fall in love with, and I hope that you'll come here to visit us sometime soon. One of the things I do here that I'm most proud of is that I am the chairwoman of our Nuclear Weapons Free Zone Commission. We first became a nuclear weapons free zone city in 1989, and it was through my experiences in West Germany in the early 80s when the HISIS Herbst was happening, and we really saw that the United States had the intention of putting cruise and purging missiles in Europe. And I became pretty passionate about that issue and wanted to make a point that we here in America didn't all think that was a good idea. What we did here in Arcata was to pass an ordinance. The people of the city of Arcata spoke and they said, we don't want nuclear weapons coming to our town, and we don't want our city buying products from those corporations that build nuclear weapons. We've been able to use that ordinance to monitor city purchasing and to create a place where we've been able to say nuclear weapons, the research of, the transportation of nuclear weapons is not welcome in our town. And we've tried to set an example for other cities. We actually live in a county that has declared itself a nuclear weapons free zone. And we want to show to other people around the world, Greens and others, that we take seriously our commitment to peace and nonviolence.
Arcata is about to have its first ever town hall meeting. And this will be a big meeting where people are going to come out and speak their mind and say what they think our city should be. We made a big banner and painted it by hand a couple days ago and hung it on the Arcata Plaza. And we're looking forward to having a big productive meeting with lots of new ideas on how to make a better community.
50 years ago, the biggest debate in town is whether the city council should waste $14,000 to buy over a square mile of coastal redwood forest. It's become today a forest worth millions and millions of dollars and a source of income for the community. There's been some harvests where we've netted over $300,000-400,000 to be used for various community projects, to run our Parks and Rec program, even to provide the many services that we do through the city. The forest is managed in an ecological way. We do very sparse harvesting. We don't do any clear cuts. We try to take in all those values, the recreation values, the fisheries values, the wildlife values, and we have a long rotation. We don't cut very fast, and it's been a very, very interesting process to develop what's being looked at as a model forestry program for the north coast of California.
Thanks, tree huggers.
This is Arcata's idea of a park. This is an organic farm. It's also a living laboratory, a place for students to come from all ages. We have university students, we have elementary school kids come here. People of all ages come here, and they're able to enjoy 4 acres of organic farming. And certainly one of our challenges is a challenge that's facing our nation is how do we preserve our agriculture land and maximize a sustainable production to feed our people.
This is the back side of the Simpson building, and this is the prime agricultural land which was saved, part of it, due to the efforts of the community to stop the development of the industry and the 1,000 homes. One of the things that we're talking about now is how to permanently protect prime agricultural land within and possibly without the city, outside of the city limits of Arcata. And some other communities have done that through ag initiatives, open space initiatives where they've created open space districts and created a funding mechanism to buy up lands and put them in permanent conservation easements. So we're hoping that at some point we're going to work towards that in the future, put up a voter initiative and to have most of our open space permanently protected.
Arcata skate parks is something I've been working on since 1994 when I first got elected. After 3 years of forming a nonprofit and raising money, we finally got what it took, $138,000 to build this park. And a really neat thing is that it took all sectors of the community to come together to make this happen. It's the only thing that the city's really done for young people And the whole time I've lived here, and I think a lot longer, another neat thing in the last year is that we set aside money to build a youth center. It's something that's going to be built, we believe, in the next 14 months. And that's really exciting. Well, I hope you've enjoyed your time in Arcata.
And we hope that this has provided some inspiration so that you can take on some of the issues in your local town and make them green.
Peace.
We open our window on America this morning on what may be the greenest town in the country. Last November, voters in Arcata, California elected the nation's first city council controlled by members of the Green Party. With the environmentalists firmly in command, people are taking notice of how and what they're doing. As our John Blackstone reports, the Greens are looking to Arcata as a starting point to prove something to the rest of the country.
In Arcata's Central Plaza, the Earth flag flies right along with the stars and stripes and the flag of California. It's the City Council's declaration that the battle to save the Earth begins right here.
It's almost impossible to create change at the national level, and I think that communities are going to be where politics are redefined in the 1990s and the next century.
At just 29, Jason Kirkpatrick is Arcata's vice mayor and a part-time co-op worker.
And it's organic, right? My goal would to see us have 100 more local city governments within the next 10 years.
New recycling contract.
Governments like Arcata's, which espouse green goals, like growing all their own food, relying on solar energy, and building composting toilets for public use.
We're setting a standard for what all cities are going to have to be doing 20 years from now.
A lot of older townspeople, like former mayor and Republican Carl Pellets, think the Greens have got it all wrong.
You're not there to push a political, any ideals. I mean, you're there to govern for the entire city. And these people are having a little trouble with that one.
A lot of people fear change. They also fear what they don't know, and a lot of people don't really know what the Greens are.
For those who don't know, this is how some Greens do their laundry.
If you want clean clothes, you got to pedal fast.
Melanie Williams is a founder of Arcata's Green Party.
They've even got their own composting privy inside, and all of the waste actually comes back out and nourishes fruit trees.
On the campus of Humboldt State, she shows off a demonstration home that is totally green, which uses appropriate or earth-friendly technology.
Many folks would remember this as a pie safe, and this is vented to the outside.
Solar today and auto-free times and Wild Earth in your magazine.
Appropriate technology is small, simple, cheap, nonviolent. So that's what we're talking about when we say appropriate.
It's a nonviolent house.
It is a nonviolent house, and we mean to be nonviolent to the earth.
The Greens are making this a lonely place to be a Republican. In last year's presidential election, Bob Dole ran third here, behind the Green Party's candidate, Ralph Nader. And in many ways, Arcata was green long before the Greens were elected. For years, the city has boasted of its environmentally friendly sewage treatment plant.
What's been created here is a wildlife sanctuary with water that's been partially treated.
Not many towns have tourists that come to their sewage treatment plant.
It's something to be proud of. I think we think that we have a glimpse of the change that's going to be required to live the good life. And it's not more stuff, it's more beauty, it's a bioregional sense, it's a nonviolent sense.
So in Arcata, the organic gardens are blooming and composting is all the rage. Those who aren't Greens think that's fine for some, but they hope the Greens understand that governing has to get down to the nitty-gritty.
They're going to have to fill the potholes, and they have to figure out how to pay to fill the potholes. You know, that doesn't come free.
And John Blackstone also learned that politicians forget the potholes at their peril. In Arcata, the Greens may discover that merely saving the world isn't always enough to keep the voters happy. But Jane, clearly some of the voters were happy enough to elect them into office.
Absolutely. It's interesting when this green issue becomes such a political issue, too, and it swings in and out of vogue.
Yeah.
Do you have your act together? Because this side is all like pre-writing your notes, even though this is like the fourth form we've done. Why don't we go Bob, Donna, Bruce,
and we'll do your yeah, it'll come back to me. The thing, our council is 3-3-1. There's basically myself and 2 other hardcore Smurfs. There's 1 person who has left and gone independent, kind of in the middle, and then 3 conservatives. So outside of the votes where we're voting 7-0, which are the no-brainer issues, there's a lot of shifting 4-3 majorities. Where I've won, I've been the lead on, again, the Parks and Open Space really also was a big thing for me that crossed over. So we just went through our first open space element in 24 years. I led the charge on being as aggressive as possible in designing that element. So one of my big ones in this year's budget, I got an extra $3.5 million put aside for public land acquisition in this year's budget, and have pretty much laid out a precedent that future budget surpluses, because we have another $2.8 million surplus over this last year that we're going to vote on in a couple of months. That's all going to go put aside for extra public land. That was a big thing that I was able to win on. Public transit, I've been able to win on. We just took our downtown area, Santa Monica and Broadway, Santa Monica Boulevard, Broadway, are both going to go from 6 lanes to 4. We're going to create cafe zones. There's going to be a bus-only lane going west on one street and coming east on the other. And on the layout of those streets, we're going to essentially create a transit mall where you can take and get off. I mean, every single bus line will run through that area. You can get off and pick up any other bus. We also have electric shuttles running through that area to take you out to other parts of the city. So I've done well on stuff like that. Also on pedestrian orientation, we managed to reverse a mind-bogglingly stupid policy of our traffic engineer who argued that crosswalks lead people into false senses of security, therefore more people get hit, therefore we should take out the crosswalks so that nobody gets hit. That was actually going on, and we managed to organize and turn that one around, and we're going to be now going through that process. So those are ones that I've been winning on. Where I've been losing, and I've actually even won on global warming. I got a measure through on our council to have us studied, because Ventura was studied nearby as a coastal city. They've come up with a study showing that 4,100 homes are likely to go underwater in the next century. We have similar concerns in Santa Monica. What I've lost on is civil liberties issues and really hardcore public democratization of process issues. We lost 4-3 to defund our neighborhood organizations, which have been funded for 14 years. In part, that was a political move to cut my base, because that's really where I came out of. And we're entering a new era of more and more commercial development, so we lost there. I've lost on civil liberties. We just Tuesday night passed a street reformers ordinance to regulate on our 3rd Street Promenade. 3rd Street is a pedestrian-only zone where we took an old street and made it a mall. We actually, here in the so-called People's Republic, passed two laws, one which denies basic First Amendment free speech, where the law is such that for like bumpers and bumper stickers, there's already case law around the country where you have the right to sell those and get your $1 or $2 back, but our council decided no, that we were going to make that illegal. So we're going to get sued in court and lose on that. Also, for the street performers, the people who go ahead and sing, any person in the world could go out and just stand there, like say, any of us could go out and hold up a CD, and if somebody wanted to donate money to you, you could do that, except for the street performers. We made that illegal on Tuesday night so that somebody can go ahead and sing, but if they wanted to sell the music that goes along with what they're, or take donations, not even sell, but just take donations for them, we made that illegal as well. So we're going to lose on those. I've really gone out of my way to try and build personal relationships with people on the other side, and I got my 4th vote to fund putting in an ISDN line for the micro radio station that we're starting, Free Radio Santa Monica. I got a 4th vote from one of the conservatives on that because I've tried to really treat them with decency. I mean, we had a very polarized city, particularly over rent control. I made it a point as a Green to go in to show that we can govern and we can get along, so I'm not losing people on every vote, so that has worked well. But obviously on some of these basic economic justice issues, I've been losing. We've had a study session on preference voting to change our municipal elections, and we're building a coalition to get on the ballot for that next year. As I mentioned before, the micro radio station, there's been a lot of democratization process type things that I've worked at. I won't go into all of those now, but kind of the biggest long-term goal that I've set for me being in office, I'll win and lose on different issues, but if I can shift away from being such a staff-driven city to put more of the origin into residents, that I think I'll be very happy with. The final thing that I want to touch on, beyond a lot of the stereotypical green environmental stuff, we're a heavy tourist city. Santa Monica, we make close to as